Hello there, this is AD Robles, and you're listening to AD on the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network. All right, well, let's start like this. If you have not considered becoming a Fight, Laugh, Feast Network Club member, please consider doing so. Use the show code ROBLES, ROBLES. I believe that the content that we're producing these days is vital content for the Christian church. We need to understand how to fight. We need to develop some cunning in this fight. People are going crazy all over the place, and I think it's become clear that no matter what network you watch on cable news or whatever it is, that you're not going to get the real take on anything. And so we're trying to clear through some of the nonsense. We're trying to provide some right side up commentary, things of that nature, and we're doing a lot of work here. We want to continue to do it. So please consider supporting us as a Fight, Laugh, Feast Network Club member. Use the show code ROBLES to let the boys know that you appreciate this content in particular. That's ROBLES. Thank you so much for doing so. It really does mean a lot to the network, but also me personally, and all of that kind of thing. So let's jump into it today, because I think, listen, like this audience, in my opinion, the Fight, Laugh, Feast audience, and the AD Robles YouTube channel audience, I think that we're of above average intelligence. Like I don't think that that's, being arrogant or whatever. I think that we're hip to the game more so than most audiences out there, especially among Christian circles. So we're not like super smart necessarily, but we got a good head on our shoulders, and we are right side up, right? We don't believe the upside down shenanigans and all that kind of stuff. Like, you guys don't get mad at me when I say words like sodomy. You understand that that's the biblical, that's the actual term for what's going on with people. We don't have to say, LGBT. We don't have to use euphemisms like gay and stuff. Like, you don't get mad at me for stuff like, because you guys are right side up, right? You guys are right side up. You're not upside down in many, many respects. But I think that even this audience, and I'll speak for myself, maybe you can relate to what I'm going through right now. I think that I'm even a little bit surprised at what I've seen over the last few days. There's just no question about it. There's no question that even me, they fooled me. Even a guy like old AD Robles was a little bit surprised by what he's seen. And I think I want to talk about sort of the election fraud that we're seeing, the voter fraud, because I'm not surprised that there's voter fraud, right? Like, let's just get that straight right off the bat. I assumed that there would be voter fraud. The Democrats they're pagans, right? Of course, they cheat every election. Every election they cheat. And so I assumed that they would cheat in this one, obviously. I even made a joke on Twitter on election day that there's a cemetery close to where I live that has a bunch of Biden-Harris signs in front of it. And that's a funny joke to me, not because people are supporting Biden-Harris, but because it's well known that dead people vote for Democrats all the time, right? Like, that's well known. We understand that. They do the ballot harvesting. They do this and that. Like, they cheat all the time. But even AD Robles was surprised at what he saw on election night. Because they cheated, yes, but they cheated in the most transparent way that has to be intentional. It has to be an intentional thing that they wanted you to know that they were cheating. They were cheating, obviously. They didn't even try to hide it a little bit. So not only were they cheating, but they cheated in such a obvious way that it has to be an intentional look. Guys, I want you to know that you are not in charge here. We are in charge. Let me tell you what I mean. I've told this story. By now you've heard it a million times. This is the story here of the vote count, and you can see everyone's kind of neck and neck and all this kind of stuff. They're counting votes, and there's like a curve. It goes up and down, this and that, like what you would expect. And Trump is doing a little bit better than Biden. That they weren't expecting that. At least that's what the pollsters had said. The polling companies, they didn't know that Trump was going to do this well. They didn't know. They just were wrong on this one again. Everything's going along fine, and then they stop counting votes, right? And then you can see how all of a sudden there's a vertical line of a bunch of Joe Biden votes that they found all at once. And that's when they restarted counting. They just found a bunch of votes, and they were all for Joe Biden. You know what I mean? And reputable, officially reputable news organizations are reporting on this. And all of a sudden, Biden's in the lead, right? And it didn't just happen here. This is Wisconsin on the left here. It also happened in Michigan. It's almost the same graph. You can see actually Trump is doing a little bit better in Michigan than he was in Wisconsin, but it's the same graph. You got the blue line here, the red line up here, and they stop counting, and then all of a sudden, what do you know? They find a big stash of Joe Biden votes. And like everyone and their mother sees this, and they're like, and it's funny because it actually happens around the same time as well. Like it's almost like, a couple hours apart, they just did the same thing. And this is just so blatant, obviously. And then we're getting official news reports that say, oh, Philadelphia, a new precinct in Philadelphia is reporting new votes, and they're all for Joe Biden. Can you imagine? I mean, Philadelphia, of all places, they're all for Joe. Not a single Trump vote. Despite the fact that Trump is doing better with blacks, despite the fact that Trump is doing better with Latinos, despite the fact that even when Barack Obama ran, he didn't get this many votes, Joe Biden, who is mentally incapacitated, doesn't even know where he is. He's a presidential candidate that is in the throes of dementia. But he was able to, get out more votes for himself than Barack Obama did. That's what you're being told. And by the way, we at the same time of the night, we found a bunch of new votes in both of the key swing states, and they were 100% for Joe Biden. Not a single vote extra for President Donald Trump. So this is like, you have to understand, they're telegraphing what they're doing here. The audacity surprised me a little bit, and I don't think it should have. I actually feel a little bit embarrassed that I was surprised by this, but I'm not going to be dishonest with you. I did not see this coming. I saw the fraud coming, of course. Anyone with a good head on their shoulders saw fraud coming. But I don't think most people predicted something as blatant and obvious and like so in your face as this. And so you got to figure out what to do with this information, right? They care so little about appearing not corrupt or appearing like things are on the up and up, that they are just willing to dump 100,000 votes overnight, all 100% of them for their candidate, Joe Biden, who is mentally incapacitated. He's in the throes of dementia, doesn't even know where he is right at this moment, most likely, if he's even conscious right now. He'll be president for less than a couple months. I mean, they'll remove him within a couple months and put in Kamala Harris, whatever her name is, and that'll be the situation. Like, they don't care if it looks legitimate or if it doesn't look obvious. Like, they just don't care, and that surprised me a little bit. But I think you need to think about something else too. Like this is pretty blatant, obviously. But you also have to take a step back and think about everything that's gone into this, because this is so blatant. You don't have to be a genius to be like, well, that's kind of suspicious, right? Like, I'm not even saying what you have to say it is, like, but at least ask the question, like, that's a little suspicious, right? But keep this in mind. Most news organizations are not even talking about this, much less asking if it's suspicious, and everyone's in on it. CNN, MSNBC, those are the usual suspects, obviously. Fox News is in on it. Somebody asked the question on Facebook, I think this was Rhett Koppel. He said, how many of you are officially done with Fox News? I haven't watched Fox News for years, probably a decade. So I'm a little ahead of the game on Fox News. But Fox News is in on it. They're not asking the question. It's not even a hard question. It's just a question. Hey, like, what's that about? Yeah, but don't worry, we're calling Michigan for Joe Biden. Oh man, they're in on it, man. Everyone is in on it. Like to not see collusion here in some way is, you'd have to be a complete idiot to not see collusion here. So not only are the Democrats openly cheating and not even trying to hide their tracks a little bit. Like, it might be something, like, you would still be able to see if randomly they found 100,000 votes that, like, weren't registered or something, and, like, 75% of them were for Biden and 25% of them were for Trump. Like, you would still be able to be like, yeah, that's cheating, but they didn't even try. It's just like, well, we found 100,000, we found 134,302 votes, and all of them were for Joe Biden. They're not even trying. Like, they're telegraphing this to you. They want you to know. That's the thing. They want you to know. And then, of course, Twitter's censoring this stuff, right? They're saying, well, you know what? We are not allowed to call states unless we say so. This is the role of social media. This is the role of the media. We will tell you what's what. Oh, President Trump thinks that he won Michigan. Is that what he tweeted from his official presidential Twitter account? Censor. Censor it. Everyone's in on it, man. You guys have a Twitter account, Facebook account. You think you're getting any semblance of reality on your feed? No, you're not getting any. They're all in on it. It's all fake. It's theater. It's all pre-planned, right? And they don't care if you know it. They want you to know it, obviously. They want you to know it. And so the question is, what do you do with this information, right? Listen, I know that there's court cases, they're coming, and Trump might even win. Trump might even win the court case. Can you imagine that? I don't think he's going to. I think there's nothing to stop this. Like, how are they gonna prove that these votes were fake? How are you gonna prove it? I mean, it's obvious that they were. But what I'm saying is, how are you going to get a court to overturn it? Maybe he will. Maybe it'll go to the Supreme Court, and maybe even Amy Coney Barrett will write the opinion. She'll write the opinion that they were fake and Trump's the president, and so maybe he'll be the president for 4 more years, right? I don't know. I mean, it's impossible to predict the future. In fact, honestly, if I were going to make a prediction, maybe that would actually make the most sense because that would cause the most people to hate each other, which I think is what they want. The idea is that they want you to think that 50% of the people that you meet in the street tomorrow or today or whatever hates your guts, right? Hates your guts. And so some kind of a contested election where, even notice how it's always 50-50? It doesn't matter. Like if Trump gets 5% more blacks to vote for him, magically 5% more whites started voting for the other guy. And it's always 50-50. It's always completely divided down the middle. It's all a bunch of baloney. It's all a bunch of baloney. It's all fake. Think about it again. Like, of course we knew cheating happens. I mean, that you'd have to be stupid to not know that. But this kind of a cheat is them not only cheating but also telling you that they're cheating. We are doing this. We want you to know. There's nothing you can do about it. That's it. We're going to do it. And they have been talking about this for weeks. They've been talking about this for weeks. Biden the other day talked about his voter fraud operation that he had. Pelosi was saying it doesn't matter who gets elected. We're going to be inaugurating Joe Biden. It doesn't matter. Like, they talk about it. They're open about it. They want you to know. They've telegraphed their past from the beginning. Coronavirus said you didn't have to be a prophet to know that they were going to use coronavirus to do some kind of a mail voting scam and stuff like that. You didn't have to be a prophet. It's obvious. It's obvious that they were going to try to scam people. But what I didn't expect, and this is my bad, I got sucked in. And I apologize, dear viewer. I do. They fooled me. They fooled A.D. Robles. I didn't expect this to be so abundantly clear. So telegraph. Look at this. Oh wow. So the question is what do you do with this information, right? It's all it's all theater. They've planned it out. It's all scripted, right? This is they want you to know that it's scripted. We're doing this, and we want you to know that it was us. They want you to know. What do you do with this information? That's the key. See, because the thing is, you can't control this kind of stuff, right? You can't control this kind of stuff. You can't control that the media is going to report as if it's somehow legitimate that they found 100,000 votes, and they were all for Joe Biden. Just to put him in the... You can't control that the media is going to report on that as if it's legitimate. You can't control that. But you can control how you respond to it, right? You can control what you do. And I would just say this, that that the one thing that you can control right off the bat is consenting to it, right? Somebody was telling me the other day, I tried to tweet out something about how I'm going to be doing the same thing the next day after Biden gets elected, if he gets elected, that I'm doing today, right? I'm going to be doing the same thing. And someone said, no, you're not. How could you say that? This is the most crucial election of our time. You're going to have to get the vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine, and you're going to have to wear the mask because Biden said he's going to make you wear the mask. Everyone in the country is going to have to wear the mask when they're in public and get the vaccine. You're not going to do the same thing that you were doing today. And that's not true. I'm not going to wear the mask. There's just no way. I'm not going to wear the mask. He can't make me wear the mask. And I'm not going to he can't make me get the vaccine. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. I do not consent. You're not going to inject me. You're not going to inject my kids. And that's that. What are you going to do about it? I mean, this is the thing. Like the government's power over you. Yes, there are certain authorities that they get from God. We know that from Romans 13. In fact, I'm writing about that right now for my book. Romans 13 does give the government certain authorities, but there are certain authorities that it simply does not give the government. And the reality is that the government only has the control that you let it have over you. That's it. They have the control that you let it have over you. And sometimes it's prudent to obey because, you don't want to go to jail just for not paying a, 6-cent tax or something like that. But sometimes when it's a matter of like, well, you send your kids to our school so that we can teach them about transgenderism. Sometimes the answer is just no. You can't make me, and I'm not going to do it. It's just that, will they come and take my kid? Well, they could try. I don't think they'll do it, though. I don't think that they'd do it. So just don't consent. I mean, just what are you going to do with this information? They want you to know that this is fantasy. This is a fantasy. This election's fantasy. They want you to know. So what do you do with that information? I'm not saying you don't fight in court. I hope Trump wins. It'll be better for the next 4 years. Trump's worldview is more correct. It's more accurate. It's more based in the world of reality than Joe Biden's. I'd rather Trump be the president. Of course I would. I voted for him. I suggested that you vote for him. I made my case for that. Biden's operating in la-la land. I mean, he doesn't even know what planet he's on, but Kamala Harris is operating in some kind of an upside-down pagan worldview that I want no part of, so I'm not going to take part in it. I'm just not going to consent. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to take part in that. I'm not participating. It's just can't do it. It's not for me. It's not for me. But you expect me, A.D. Robles, to look at this and to not be like, oh, yeah, it's fantasy. I'm going to continue to participate in this. I'm not going to participate in this fantasy. So you could have your court cases and hopefully Trump wins them and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, I'm not clicking on your stupid maps anymore. I'm not doing it. Well, I will do it for the purposes of entertainment. But I'm not going to look at your little graphs and be like, oh, and get all uppity and get all wring my hands and get all anxious. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to participate in this fantasy anymore. I'm going to laugh at all the woke people. I'm going to still fight Big Eva because that's what I believe in. I think Big Eva is a disaster, and we're going to go in on Big Eva as much as possible. I'm going to talk about politics, but it's going to be different. It's just going to be different because this is a fantasy. I'm not going to let Joe Carter be like, well, you're talking about a conspiracy theory, AD. Conspiracy theories are satanic. And I'm going to point to this map and be like, this is the conspiracy theory? To believe that this is a fantasy? Okay, fine. Call me a conspiracy. I don't care. I'm not working in your fantasy world anymore. Call me a conspiracy conspiracy theorist all you want. That's okay. Because you are operating in the upside down. I'm operating in reality. So you're calling me a conspiracy theorist. All that means to me is in your upside down fantasy land, I'm saying something that is not correct according to your fantasy. That's fine with me. People have called me much worse. And so you see, I'm not going to operate in this fantasy world anymore. That's for Gospel Coalition, okay? I'm going to operate in the reality, in the real world, where we understand the difference between a boy and a girl, where we understand the difference between arguing about whether or not it's okay to cuddle your boyfriend and still be a Christian, or maybe maybe the only thing that's wrong is actually penetrating your boyfriend. Like, I'm not going to participate in those I'm going to laugh at those kinds of conversations, but I'm going to operate in the real world where we understand that sodomy is against nature and it's against everything that God created, and we just don't acknowledge it. That's perversion. That's what it is. It's perversion. I don't know. Call me crazy. Some people are saying I'm being black-pilled or something like that, and I don't even know what that means. I'll look it up at some other time. But I'm obviously still going to engage in the world, but I'm just not going to participate in the fantasy. Is that crazy? This is a fantasy. You can see, look at this map. This is a fantasy. I'm not participating in that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. God bless. Don't forget to tune in next week on Thursday for AD on the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network.